If I had access to these 7 n8n apps when I first started, I would have saved hundreds of hours. But more importantly, I would have made a lot more money a lot faster. These aren't just tools. These are secret weapons for automating faster, smarter, and with way less effort. Some of these are hidden gems. Others, well, these are total game changers that nobody's talking about. The first app is Google Gemini, and this is a complete game changer. I'm actually using Google Gemini for a lot of my automations because I think it has a lot of advantages. So to add the Gemini node, you just click on the nodes panel, do a search for Gemini, and you should see on the list here. If you don't, just head over to the admin panel on the left hand side. And what you're going to need to do is you want to update the instance that your n8n platform is running on. So click on manage, where it says n8n version, just find the latest version. So for me, it's 103.1 latest beta. Save that, and then it'll basically just restart the instance here, and you'll be running the latest version. The reason I like Gemini is because it's natively supporting a lot of these actions. So you can analyze audio, you can transcribe recording, you can analyze documents, and there's also options here to analyze video or even generate video using Google's VO. Now I've actually been using VO through file.ai, and I've actually got videos on that. So I don't actually have any billing inside of Google at this moment in time. But I will show you, if you stick around later in this video, how you can consolidate all your payments and you can access all the language models from one platform. The second app is Appify, and I absolutely love Appify because I use it for all my scraping requirements. And the way this works is that I've got an automation here that I built some time back, and it's basically just an Instagram scraper. So what it'll do in this instance is it will actually scrape Instagram using a scraper on their platform, which is just an Instagram profile scraper. So the way this works, and if you haven't used it before, just head over to appify.com, click on the sign up, and they'll give you a $5 free credit so you can test out most of their scrapers. They have 6,000 pre-built actors, which is what they call a scraper. And what's great about Appify is that they handle everything. They handle all the messy stuff, so you don't need a cloud server, you don't need proxies. And these are all Python scripts that are built, so they'll handle all the containers, everything. All you need to do is just run it and then extract the data. So you can see here that they have a ton of scrapers. You can scrape content, you can scrape leads, you can scrape social media for profile, bios, comments, likes, whatever. You can actually scrape even both the surface level data that's visibly available and sometimes even some of the metadata. Since I'm using the Instagram example, let me show you some of the scrapers that are available. So I've done a search for Instagram. You can see it has well over 700 actors, and you can scrape pretty much anything you want. So posts, profiles, places, hashtags, photos, comments. This was another post scraper. These are all from Appify themselves, and you do have other developers. So this is another great one, API Dojo. I use some of their scrapers for other tasks, but they have an Instagram scraper. And if I go inside of here, this is pay per result, which means it's really cost effective. So if you see it here, it's 50 cents for 1,000 posts, which is just ridiculous. It's kind of like free, right? So on your free plan, which is $5, you can test pretty much all of these. And there's a bunch of stuff you can do. So you've got start URLs. You've got basically the maximum number of outputs. So this is what are you scraping? And if you're not sure, just head over to information, and these scrapers will tell you what's possible, right? So for this example, you can scrape all of these, right? It'll tell you everything that you can scrape. This one has tags, you've got comments, pretty much everything you can think of, profile pictures in some cases. And this is an output example of what it looks like in JSON. And this one even tells you the input parameters. So you need to start URLs. You want until, so give you a date range, max item. So how much output do you actually want? Obviously, the more that you want and the higher the number this is, the longer the output the scrape is going to take. But even then, it's not too bad, right? It's very fast because they host everything. You don't have to host any of this, Python scrapers or anything like that. They'll do it all inside of their platform, and all you have to do is just grab the data. The third app is Perplexity, and this is an absolute game changer if you've never used it before, because Perplexity is an AI search engine, which means that it can actually search the internet. Not only can it do research for you, it will actually come back with citations. So it'll give you links to Reddit or Quora or wherever it searched for this information. Now, to use Perplexity, you are going to need an account on Perplexity, which means you're going to need to top it up with some credit. So you can start off with something like $5, and you just want to connect it up to your API key. So head over to Perplexity AI, grab the API key, paste it here, and then just create a connection. You'll know it's worked because it says it tested successfully. And then for message model, I'm using Sonar for this example, but there are Sonar Deep Research and Pro options. These are going to give you much more deeper reasoning, but also it can take longer for the outputs, and it can be more expensive because each token is going to cost a lot more, and sometimes they use a lot more tokens. So I ran a quick test inside of the chat and I asked it, help me plan a trip to Egypt for 2025, find the best locations and give me some hotel ideas. So it's plugged that into Perplexity, as you can see here, and it's giving me some outputs, but more importantly, it's giving me citations, so links that I can actually check myself to avoid any issues with hallucinations. And you can see the output here. If I go back to the AI agent, it's giving me an output with some paragraphs. That's what the new line -n is for here, and it's giving me some ideas, some locations, and that's all come from the Perplexity node, which is this node here that's used, and it can scrape the internet and find articles, and you can tell it to go search in any particular location, or you can just leave the AI agent and let Perplexity figure it out for itself. App number 4 is Mistral AI, which is a French startup by 2 researchers who used to work for DeepMind and Facebook Meta. What's great about Mistral is that it's completely free. You can just head over to their website, grab an API key, and just plug it in and test it. Now, this is significant because if you're building an OCR type application or automation, it can get expensive, especially with API tokens and language models. So go ahead, go to the website, grab the API key. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So I've got a form here, and I'm just going to execute it. And what it's going to do is it can basically extract any text from a PDF. So I'm just going to upload a fictitious employment contract here, and let's see what it does. So we're going to submit that, and now it's done. So the automation's done. And if I go inside of the Mistral node, you're going to see that I uploaded a file which was an employment contract.pdf, and then in the output here we have a bunch of text, and it's actually extracted it in Markdown, and this is basically all the content of the contract. Now, this is a great automation if you want to sell this as a service, because I do have clients for my agency that have these types of operations, and they're very manually intensive, right? So typically, like your law service or any type of business that has admin, they'll typically do this by hand, which is kind of ridiculous, or they use really expensive OCR applications. You can build this pretty quickly, pretty efficiently, and sell this relatively cheaply to them, and they'll take you up on that. Number 5 is OpenRouter, and OpenRouter is a great solution if you want to try lots of different language models, but you don't want to pay for subscriptions or buy credits from multiple different platforms. So what OpenRouter lets you do is you can just sign into one platform, just buy the credits inside of the same platform, and then you can run the language models from entirely inside of the same place. So let me show you what that looks like. If you head over to openrouter.ai, this is the homepage, and you can search for a bunch of different language models here. So they've got everything. They've got DeepSeek, they've got OpenAI, they've got Grok, they've got Mistral, they've got pretty much everything you think of, even Google Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is a great one I'm actually testing right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move all my subscriptions and all my language model kind of management inside of OpenRouter. And so the way that works inside of n8n is you just create an AI agent or any type of automation, and then you want to look for the OpenRouter node, okay, which is this one here. It's the OpenRouter chat model, and then connect it up with your API key. So you just go over to settings here and go to keys, grab an API key, and then inside of here you just create a new account. And what you could do inside of this is you basically got access to all these language models, right? And it's all done from one centralized place. So you could think of all the best language models like ChatGPT, you've got Claude by Anthropic, you've got DeepSeek in here, but you've got also some lesser known ones that are pretty good, but they're not really marketed, such as Meta Llama. You've also got some by Qwen, which is Alibaba, I believe. So these are huge in China, but not so well known outside of the Chinese market. So there's a bunch of these that you can test, and you can test them all in one place. You've also got Perplexity as well. So if you don't want to buy the credits from Perplexity AI, you could just go into OpenRouter and you could buy the Deep Research or Pro or Reasoning, and it's just nice, tidy, and you can do it all in one place, and you only need one API key. Number 6 is Zep, and I've actually covered this in a longer video, but I'll give you a kind of brief overview in this section of today's video. So what Zep is basically a knowledge graph, like a memory server, but it's way powerful, much more powerful than, say, something like Simple Memory. Because with Simple Memory, which is a native node inside of n8n, it has a very narrow context window. So it's very difficult to have conversations and store that data beyond the point of the actual conversation. And what Zep does is that it actually creates a knowledge graph like this. So you can see I fed this particular memory store with information about myself. So, I run an AI automation agency. I've been to AI conferences. I'm due to go to an AI conference. I'm booking holidays. And it's actually built these as entities inside of the knowledge store. But more importantly, it's actually giving you locations, attending, like relationships between these entities. And why this is powerful is because you can make your AI agents much more smarter, and you can tap into this information. So think of it from a business, right? Most businesses use something like a SharePoint, which hardly gets used, right? Because people can't interact with it. They can't have a chat conversation with the data. They have to go onto the knowledge base like SharePoint, and they have to kind of manually try and find the information. Whereas a ZEP type interface, I can use it to chat with the existing knowledge, but I can also make it better. I can also add to it. So if I have a conversation with this AI agent, I can then increase what this knowledge store is going to be. I can add information to it, I can update it, and then I can plug this knowledge store, because I can always plug in the ZEP node into future automations. And so if you're selling this to businesses, this is going to blow their minds, because now you have a dynamic knowledge base, something that's always going to get bigger, it's always going to get better, and it understands the relationships between each data point. The seventh and final app is the Think tool. Now, this is something that's been developed internally by n8n's development team, but the concept for it has come from Anthropic. So if you head over to Anthropic's blog, these are the creators of Claude. You'll see that basically the Think tool is extending thinking before it starts generating response. Now, this is something useful when you are building very complicated automations where you might have conflict. So in this example, I'm actually generating viral videos. So think of those ASMR videos, but what I'm doing is I'm actually generating ideas for it using an AI agent, and I'm also generating prompts using another AI agent. But I plugged it into a Think tool because I don't want any conflicts. Now, in a real world scenario, you might think of a use case for something like a calendar. So let's say you have a calendar automation that uses an AI agent, and you're basically using the AI agent to either book new appointments or rearrange appointments. Now, if there is an appointment, let's say there's one appointment at 1 p.m. and you're trying to book another appointment at 1 p.m. If you didn't have the Think tool or any deeper reasoning, it will try and book two appointments at the same time. Now, if you're running any type of service business or a business that has appointments, this is obviously going to be a conflict, right? But what you can do in this example is plug in the Think tool, and then it will actually reason. So if it sees you trying to book two appointments at the same time, it will actually try and rearrange it or offer another alternative where it looks at the calendar and it sees another appointment that's possible, let's say at 3 p.m. What you can do is you can plug this into the AI agent. The AI agent will then book it in at 3 p.m. and it will actually send an email or a message or whatever you want to do as the output back to the user. So you can see that it has much better context. It can handle resolutions and conflicts and find resolutions, and it's just more deeper reasoning, more thinking before it does the output. And that's the key here. It will actually do the thinking before it's processed the output. And if you enjoyed this video, consider signing up to the Automation Kings AI community. Inside here, we have a bunch of different unique people. You've got guys like myself who run an AI automation agency, and I'll show you how to do that. There's also people here who work for startups and AI companies, and there's people who just run side hustles with AI. So you've got a discussion here, so a bunch of people and a bunch of content here from me on how to generate money with AI. So this is how I built a $10,000 a month AI automation agency using n8n and Upwork, and I've actually got the automation in there. I've also got classrooms, so this is a bunch of classrooms for anybody that's new to AI that needs a helping hand. If you want to launch an AI agency in 16 days, I've also got that covered for you. And I've got AI automations and blueprints, so everything that I discuss on this channel on YouTube is all here in the AI automations section. I've also got automations that I don't publicly talk about, that's just private for my community. So a link for that is in the description. Sign up and I'll see you on the inside. But before you go, do me a favor, like the video. If you did enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and turn your notifications on so you see when the next video drops. Catch you soon and take care.